Greetings everyone, and welcome to Keeping Up with Papa, Life After Work, where we find out how one man manages to keep himself busy, physically active, and mentally engaged after retirement with projects. Today's project? Tailgating. That's right, we tailgate at every home game for the University of Florida Fighting Gator football team. Check it out. Welcome back. Well, right now it's postseason here in North Central Florida, and my University of Florida Fighting Gator football team just finished up a dismal, disheartening, dreary, deflating season of SEC football. We had a record so poor that we were not even invited to a bowl game. Not much to brag about this year. And you know, if there's anything that would remind me of my college years back in the 70s, it's a football season record just like this one. But did that diabolical, dastardly, devilish detail put a damper on our season? No, it did not. Well, yes, maybe it did, but hey, we still had a great time at every single football game. Why? Because we tailgate. Whoa, now, you may be thinking that, I thought that Papa's video log was about projects. Tailgating's not a project. Oh, yes, it is. And let me tell you, it is complicated. This has been a tradition with family and friends for, well, over 20 years now. And believe me, learning how to do it right and continuing to do it right every single year qualifies as a project. Now, early on, it was just myself and my son-in-law in my long ago sold 1971 Triumph TR6. That was fun. We then graduated to various other vehicles. We even drove all the way over one time in my 1958 Willys CJ3B. It's about 25 miles one way, and in a vehicle that has a top speed of maybe 50 miles per hour, that one took a while. Then, about 15 or so years ago, we inherited and restored this 1973 Volkswagen Westfalia camper bus. Now, you may recall seeing the bus in a few of my other videos in the background, and we even did one video that centered on repairing damaged paint. Now, tailgating is one of the reasons that I really like to keep the bus pristine. You know what? It turns out that a roughly 50-year-old vehicle is just perfect for tailgating. Everything we need fits inside of it, and it's turned out to be a really unique and positive addition to the campus football scene. It's become somewhat of a tradition now on campus. And we aren't the only ones in VWs that tailgate. Check this out. Nice bug, eh? Hey, I had briefly considered painting the bus like this guy did with his bug when we were restoring it, but, I thought better of it. I did actually make the seats kind of a gator blue with some orange tints in them. And yes, there is a guy in this clip. Stop looking where you're looking and look in the car. Back to tailgating. Now, what's so complicated about it? Well, every season, a few weeks before the first game, all the gear comes out of hibernation and it's laboratory tested to rigid standards, meaning that I set it all up and just test it to make sure nothing's broken and everything's working just fine. And then I do my best to try and remember how to pack it all back in, and it goes. Question, what's the process? What do you need to take into consideration when trying to plan a successful tailgate? Well, let's start with really the first rule, and that is location. Now, honestly, anywhere is fine, but sometimes over time you find a spot that you really like, you meet other tailgaters, and you enjoy having them as neighbors, and your location becomes part of your tailgating tradition. Now, for us, we've been parking, until this past year, in the exact same spot for over 15 years at the base of a campus building called Century Tower in the heart of the University of Florida campus. It's a very unique spot. I mean, the bus is pretty narrow and it jumps the curb easily, so it really tucks in kind of nicely. Wider vehicles wouldn't fit well. Behind the bus, there are wide steps that serve as stadium seating for our chairs. And there's a great spot around the corner to set up meals. And you know what? Over the years, we have developed quite a following. You know, people love the bus, and there's dozens of photos taken by passersby at every single football game with the bell tower as a backdrop. And we've been on the cover of the campus newspaper. We're in a cookbook, of all things. We're on various online media and mainstream media sites like ESPN. You'll even find the bus in photos on local restaurant walls. Hey, this one is in a restaurant bathroom. Ha. And I also found this photo on Pinterest. Bear with me, please. There's a reason for this little backstory. Well, sadly, all of that has come to an end. The UF Grounds Department has made it quite clear that they don't want tailgaters on nearby grass in that part of campus. You know, which doesn't really apply to us, but I guess you could just say we're collateral damage. Then, to top it off, a few years back, UF announced that the inner campus would become walking only. So, in preparation, they began shooing away tailgaters from the greater inner campus area. This year, this is what greeted us second game. You know, what can I say? You know, we were not happy, and students and other alumni also were not happy. Many have told us just how much they enjoy seeing us parked at the tower for every single game and how they wished that we were still there. Our presence there had become part of their game day tradition. Why this big long backstory? Well, because if there is one firm and unwavering constant in life, it's that everything changes. And as tailgaters, we need to be able to adapt. So, we had to punt. With the help of some fellow tailgaters that we befriended over the years, we found a nice spot, just down the street. It's not nearly as prestigious as the one that we did have, but it's pretty comfortable for our setup. And that leads to the second rule of tailgating, snagging your location for each tailgate. Well, for many people around the country, you know, I expect that they have pre-assigned sites. You paid for it in advance. Not the case here. Here it's arrive early to get your prime spot or park somewhere else. Now, to a degree, there is some etiquette on taking someone's spot, and reality it's first come, first served, but, you know, if you've been set up there previously and someone knows that, but they still take your spot, it doesn't sit well. It's happened to us before. So, we arrive early. Parking is allowed starting 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., we are parking. Or if we can't be there at 6 a.m., someone that does get there at 6 saves our spot for us. Which leads to a third rule. Make friends who will have your back. Now, not necessarily the Waylon Jennings, I'm on your fighting side kind of friends, but at least the I'll hold your spot for you friends. We've done it for people for years, and others do it for us. Hey, and there's a fourth rule now. Be prepared for inclement weather. Next, basic tailgating necessities. Well, what are they? Well, you need a vehicle, you need a parking spot, and you need a chair for each person. And maybe an ice chest and a few drinks, but that's about it, and that's really how we started. We were also nomadic, meaning that we showed up just a few hours before the ball game and found the closest spot we could to the stadium, sat down and had ourselves a pre-made Subway sandwich, and then we went to the game. But then others started to join us. So we started showing up a little bit earlier, and we added a canopy and a table. Eventually, as attendance grew, we graduated to a grill, more tables, sometimes 2 canopies, plenty of chairs, lots of decorations, and a television. So now, setup takes about an hour. Myself and usually one other person arrive first. We set up, we settle in, and we wait for our guests to arrive. Hey, others around us who host large groups, they do exactly the same thing. Now, I mentioned a television. Ours sets up here in the back of the bus. Do you need one? No. Is it nice to have? Most definitely. I mean, what would a football tailgate be without football on television? We've usually got on something like ESPN or the SEC network, and we're following whatever game of the day we want to follow while we're waiting for our game to begin. So, originally we used Dish as our signal source. When we first started, everybody was using either Dish or DirecTV. It was a lot of fun watching them out there with those big parabolic dishes trying to find a satellite. Now, we happen to own a Dish tailgater that we use for our RV travels, and that works really well most of the time. Sometimes we have reception issues caused by trees or by buildings. So, this past year, we graduated to using the university's free Wi-Fi and a Roku, when that works. Or we will be using a cell signal from our cell phone and streaming YouTube. A lot of people do this now. Wi-Fi is a lot easier, but later in the day, as more people arrive on campus, the signal bandwidth tends to get overloaded and the signal starts to drop out. The same thing happens with cellular, though it's not quite as bad. Now, I don't think I have a good sky shot for my Dish where we're parking now, but you know what? Next year I'm going to give it a shot.
This is Notre Dame.
There you go, bigger
TV. Every single week. The Irish Catholics are known to be mild-tempered people, right? I mean, that's something. You start losing like this and continue to lose like this.
Controlled with a mouse. We are Tech City.
A lot of tailgaters bring games. Now, for a while, we brought them also. You know, cornhole, one or two others, but you know what? They take up a lot of space in the bus, and they weren't really used all that much, so they've kind of fallen to the wayside. Occasionally, we have small children attend, so I'll keep a couple of little board games for kids and card games tucked away in the back of the bus, plus a nice magnetic dart game that the kids love to play. I can hang that right over the side of the door there. Kids love those. That's my bullseye, by the way.
All right, and then turn and look
this
at
way.
me.
Look back this way.
Girls,
There you go.
cheese.
You're learning how to
All
pose
right.
too.
Hey, hand it back.
It's different. Each year is different. See, this says 2018.
Next subject, food and drink. No, that's not us. That would be nice, but that's not us. So for food, we plan. For drink, well, for the longest time I brought tea and water and sodas, but after a while everyone just started fending for themselves. Early on, when the kids that came were high school and college age, we would have peak groups of maybe 20+ people showing up. Now that required a lot more coordination than it does now. You know, back then and now, we would set up a text thread a few days before and plan the meals, and everybody would chip in. You know, that still works out pretty well. Now with the kids all grown, doing other things, the core groups dropped down to really just about 4 of us. Since I typically supply the venue for every tailgate, the other 3 are kind enough to deal with the menu and the food. We typically estimate a head count, you know, we always have drop-ins, and then we pick a menu and run with it. On days when there's a noon game, we usually do a late breakfast, kind of a brunch. Hey, for 3 o'clock games and night games, we do a late lunch, you know, maybe eat around 2. And yes, believe it or not, for night games, we still show up early, eat around 2 o'clock, and then hang out and socialize until it's time to head into the stadium. Now, sidebar, I personally have given up my tickets. I'd rather watch the game at the tailgate or at home, which is only about a half-hour drive. You know, instead of being sandwiched between 2 great big guys twice my size and sitting on a hard bench for 4 hours. You know, I'd rather watch the game at the tailgate next door or break down slowly over the first half and then drive home and watch the second half at the house. Typically, there are 7 home games each season. Now, between games, everything is stored in the bus, unless I need the bus for something else like a photo shoot. I do hire it out for that occasionally. And we have also taken the show on the road. Every year Florida plays Georgia in Jacksonville, and tailgating there is a lot of fun. They don't call it the world's largest cocktail party for nothing. And we have even tailgated at University of Florida softball games. So, that's how we do it. Pretty sophisticated, right? Well, for us, yes, but compared to others, maybe not. Check this out. This guy's been tailgating in the same spot for at least 15 years. Note the dedicated tailgating trailer in the back of his setup. This seems to be a bit of a growing trend, and he's not the only one. Check out these two.
Hey, so this is one of my longtime tailgating neighbors. We call him Tailgate Brian. Hey Brian, this is quite a setup you've got here. Can you give us a little background?
Sure.
Show us around.
Sure. So, quick overview. So, setup started probably about 10 years ago with this setup with the trailer and everything. Got the trailer probably 2012, 2013. And then from there, kind of added to it. I used to not have the TVs on the outside, and it's kind of grown from there. But here, come on, I'll show you around. So in the mornings, we'll get here when we set up. First thing, obviously, center everything, make sure we're leveled where we need to be in the spot. And then we start bringing the tables out, get the bar set up in the back. TVs are nice because they're just covered with like basically like an armored shell for your phone. So you take the covers off, and TVs are ready to go. And then set up the fans, obviously, for heat. And then everything pretty much stays just stored here year-round. So this trailer has single use, only for tailgating. Unlike the bus, which is used for multiple events and things, be sure to make your reservation today. This is used only for tailgating. So you've got your breaker panel like you'd have in your house, extra chairs and things in the back, more lighting if you need to like set up or tear down at night. So,
wow, very impressive. So, how long does it take you to set up?
2 people, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll set up and then tear down. We slowly kind of tear down as the night goes. So, halftime we'll spend some time tearing down, and then at the end of the night we'll pretty much be left with a few chairs and a tent.
What time do you arrive in the morning?
6 a.m. give or take 15 minutes, like a little before, a little after. So homecoming today, got here about 5-10 minutes a little later. Saw a little bit more action, a lot more people picking up today. So it was definitely interesting. You can see people interested to be here for the 7 o'clock games. We still get here at 6 a.m. just to make sure we keep our spot. But it's definitely you have to love this to do it, because you have to go all in or it's not going to be the same.
Well, that's
a couple things I'll point out that you may not notice. So the most unique feature I'd say about the trailer is the speakers on top. So those are wakeboarding speakers for marine that you'd find on like a boat. So essentially what we did is we put articulating arms that swivel up, so you can have music playing at the top, so people in the back can hear it, but you're not blasting music in people's ears if they're sitting watching TV. And then the nice part is I can put the game on the speakers below, so you can listen to the game, and then people in the back can still listen to music.
Tell me about your cooking setup.
So depending on the day, usually we'll have the flat top. We just finished with some breakfast a little bit ago, and then depending on what we're doing, we'll do crock pots or a combination of crock pots, flat tops. We're doing tacos today, so this will have pork, beef, and chicken, and then that's a queso that's melting now as we speak. So
you have a triple crock pot here.
I think we have a total of 6, so I have a few more at the house. So it just, again, depends on what's going on.
So Chris, tell me about your setup.
So we made this setup about 5 years ago. We use this as a platform to set up tailgates for the College of Medicine. This has been our labor of love. We started with a blank 12-foot double axle trailer that we outfitted with satellite connected 55-inch flat screens, Bluetooth speakers, There's a kegerator that can incorporate 2 6-barrel kegs, which we usually try to keep something local for Swamp Head or First Magnitude.
Okay.
Oh God, you're bionic.
So is it kegerated right now?
Kegerator's running. It's on the inside of the trailer.
Okay.
When it's not hooked up to generator power, which it is right now, it can run on full batteries. There's 3 deep cycle green batteries that we can keep the kegerator going when we're on the road or staying with friends before or after the game. So the beer does not get warm. The food that we keep in the kegerator does not get warm. So it's really a good power source. And when I get home, I plug it in, it charges the batteries, and we're ready to go for the next time.
How many people do you typically get at a tailgate?
I think within the 3 hours before the game, we probably get anywhere from 40 to 60 people.
And this is all medical students, or
mostly residents, actually. So house staff, UF Health, and the Department of Maternal Medicine. But we welcome anybody that comes here. We're just happy to have people join us, and the more the merrier.
Okay, that is absolutely fantastic. This is a serious setup. It's one of the easiest and hardest balls to get on the same page with your quarterback.
You know, I'm not sure. Probably a few thousand pounds. Okay. I would definitely recommend the double axle trailer. We blew a tire one year coming up the road, and it was very convenient to have the axle to kind of limp along until we could repair, because it just happened that our spare was also not fully inflated. But we learned our lesson on that trip.
And how far is your drive to come up?
We're from Sarasota, Florida, so it's about 3.5 hours.
You come up the day before?
We come up the night before. We usually come up the night before. We pick up our kegs from Gator Beverage that we order a week or 2 prior, and that usually works out pretty well for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Well, that's how we tailgate. I hope you found this interesting and maybe learned something that you can use for your own tailgate. Thanks again for watching. And as always, questions, comments, and in particular advice are welcome. Please remember to like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Keeping Up with Papa, Life After Work. Papa out.